know what's starting to bug me? I think maybe you didn't kill your friend.
Number 10, Wolf Creek.
So, where do you live?
Oh, I get around, you know. Never know where I might pop up.
The ripped-from-headlines sentiment of true crime can often be a solid basis upon which to craft a horror screenplay. 2005's Wolf Creek did just that, with writer-director Greg McLean taking inspiration from real-life serial killings that took place in Australia back in the late 80s to mid-90s.
It was definitely a creep who picked me up, but he wasn't smiling. He was shorter than I am, kind of muscular, but he never said hello. He just said, "Put your seatbelt on, mate."
They were known as the Backpacker Murders and dealt with a mass grave of hikers found in the Belanglo State Forest. This grisly history ties into Wolf Creek's reputation as violent and effective exploitation, the sort of film that sticks with you long after the credits have rolled.
Thanks again for helping us out.
No worries.
Obviously, it would be great to get going as soon as possible.
No worries.
Number 9, The Birds.
In Bodega Bay early this morning, a large flock of crows attacked a group of children who were leaving the school during a fire drill. One little girl was seriously injured and taken to the hospital in Santa Rosa, but the majority of children reached safety.
Although it's true that Alfred Hitchcock did adapt a 1959 short story by Daphne du Maurier with his 1963 film The Birds, the director was also inspired by a real-life avian attack. August of 1961 saw a strange phenomenon overtake the city of Capitola, California. Hundreds of Ardena gricia, otherwise known as the sooty shearwater bird, descended upon the city's denizens in a strange and aggressive daze.
Admittedly, a few birds did act strange, but that's no reason to believe.
I keep telling you, this isn't a few birds. These are gulls, crows, swifts.
I have never known birds of different species to flock together.
A theory exists that perhaps some of these birds ingested a neurotoxin called demoic acid that somehow infiltrated the waters, plankton, and small fish living in the bay. As a result, these normally docile birds became either insistent and pecky with their interactions with humans, or simply found it difficult to get out of their own way.
Mitch, why are they doing this? The birds?
We don't know, honey.
Why are they trying to kill people?
I wish I could say.
Number 8, Shadow of the Vampire. This underseen horror film may be fiction, but its inspiration is tied to historical fact. Shadow of the Vampire is a movie about making movies, specifically the 1922 silent horror classic Nosferatu.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Max Schreck, who will be portraying our vampire Count Orlok.
Actor Max Schreck was, according to those that knew him, a quiet and solitary man. He was fond of walking in the woods, a daydreamer with a wicked sense of humour that left an impression upon both his co-stars and cinema in general. Shadow of the Vampire takes this knowledge and runs with it for all the film is worth.
Ask him some vampire questions.
When did you become a vampire?
I can't recall. Where were you born? Were you born?
I can't remember.
Was Max Schreck an actual vampire? No, he was not. However, the film has great fun tapping into Schreck's naturally spooky reputation and turning the horror factor up to 11.
There is no Max Schreck.
If he's not Max Schreck, who is he?
Number 7, The Exorcism of Emily Rose.
Don't ask it any questions or pay any attention to what it says.
It?
We won't be dealing with Emily tonight.
The glut of horrific exorcism movies hasn't abated since 1973's The Exorcist, and it doesn't seem to be slowing down anytime soon. But what about the glimmers of truth found within such films?
I'm afraid the truth is far less inspiring.
The Exorcism of Emily Rose is based upon the real-life tragedy of Annalise Michel, a young woman struggling with her mental health, who was subjected to 67 exorcisms prior to her death in 1976. The Exorcism of Emily Rose documents well the physical and mental struggles, not only of fictional exorcism, but of the real-life problems that plague humanity's mental health on a daily basis. As a result, the film feels doubly scary. and doubly effective.
Once you've looked into the darkness, I think you carry it with you for the rest of your life.
Number 6. Winchester. The 2018 horror film Winchester may not have succeeded critically, but it attaches an interesting question to a very real historical figure. Specifically, what if Sarah Winchester's seemingly endless renovations to her San Jose mansion was due to supernatural guilt?
The unmendable souls prey upon the innocent and the pure.
Winchester was the widow of rifle maker William Winchester, and urban legends have long associated these renovations with an attempt to distance the Winchester name from rifle victims and their vengeful ghosts.
Is he profiting from such a thing as violence and death? That is a wickedness that follows you like a shadow.
Yes, we might also call those shadows guilt.
These are just legends. However, Winchester presents this theory with enough gravitas and dread to make us think twice about the very real and very strange mansion.
In spite of everything, you really do have a beautiful home. What are you going to do next?
Rebuild, of course.
Number 5. Fire in the Sky. Fire in the Sky is based upon the accounts of Travis Walton, a one-time forest worker whose book, The Walton Experience, detailed his alleged abduction by aliens.
Where you been the last 5 days?
I can't remember.
It's difficult for us to dispute the authenticity of Fire in the Sky to Walton's claims, because we weren't there at the scene. However, the film does accurately demonstrate themes of violation, fear, and absolute helplessness found within Walton's claims. Not only that, but it does depict the absolute media circus that surrounded Walton's disappearance and reappearance, including the initial criminal investigation when he was still missing.
You know what's starting to bug me? I think maybe you didn't kill your friend. But for the life of me, I can't figure why you're covering up.
While the movie certainly picks a side, it does feature its fair amount of skeptics, who will likely continue to denounce Walton's claims for the rest of his life.
I'd like to get the hell out of here before they come back. Oh, they won't be back. I don't think they like me.
Number 4. Snowtown. It doesn't seem unfair to say that Australian films like Wake in Fright and the aforementioned Wolf Creek walked so that Snowtown could run.
Cool, a lot of berry.
This 2011 picture ties into the Australian film industry's unique and often visceral creative voice, while at the same time adapting historical precedent into the mix.
The whole country applauds a bunch of blokes who killed and tortured men, don't they? Why do they do that?
Snowtown is based upon the Snowtown murders that took place in Adelaide back in the 90s. These rash and violent killings were committed by a group under the thrall of one John Bunting, and whose targets were either the mentally infirm, those from the LGBTQ community, or anyone Bunting believed could be marginalised in this way. Snowtown, as a result, isn't easy viewing, nor does it shy away from the grotesque details at hand.
You don't need to worry, all right? They're nobody, mate.
Number 3. The Girl Next Door.
So the question is, what now?
Don't look for the mood to be lightened at all with the next movie on our list. Far from it. In fact, 2007's The Girl Next Door just may be one of the most depressing and downer horror movies, full stop. This is made doubly troubling, given that the film, adapting Jack Ketchum's 1989 novel, is based upon a stranger-than-fiction true story of death and torture.
Banaszewski was convicted of murder and sentenced to life in prison, but after less than 20 years in prison, she was granted parole and released.
And to know that you're responsible for taking someone's life is real hard to live with.
The details of Sylvia Likens are beyond the pale, and The Girl Next Door doesn't shy away from any of the cold, hard facts. The film also ties into the peer pressure and mob mentality that made it possible for Likens' caregiver, Gertrude Banaszewski, to enlist her own children into her despicable, reprehensible crimes.
Now, who else wants a turn? Eddie? Davey?
I do.
Number 2, the Conjuring franchise.
Well, we've been called demonologists. It's one name for us.
Ghost hunters, paranormal researchers.
Kooks.
Wackos.
But we prefer to be known simply as Ed and Lorraine Warren.
Doesn't really matter what you think about Ed and Lorraine Warren, because The Conjuring and its 2 sequels have done a great job at blurring the lines between fiction and reality.
The court accepts the existence of God every time a witness swears to tell the truth. I think it's about time they accept the existence of the devil.
The franchise does wonderfully succeed at representing the obvious affection the Warrens had not only for their supernatural outings, but for each other.
Do you remember what you said to me on our wedding night?
Can we do it again?
After that. You said that God brought us together for a reason.
The Conjuring is primarily out to give its audience their ticket money's worth in demonic possession fights and frights. All 3 films do largely avoid discussing the many criticisms of the Warrens as being frauds, yet simultaneously capture the pair's genial reputation with all of those who encountered them during their line of ooky, spooky work.
I'm so lucky. You said one person could change everything. But I've got 2.
Number 1. 10 Rillington Place. 10 Rillington Place may stride the line between traditional crime thriller and horror, but there's no denying how the film perfectly establishes the injustices surrounding the case of John Christie.
So mind you, they probably used too strong a dose. If only you and Beryl had come to me earlier, I could have done it without any risk at all.
Christie was one of the United Kingdom's most notorious serial killers, an otherwise mild-mannered gentleman who was accused of multiple horrendous murders. What's worse was that Christie allowed an innocent man, Timothy Evans, to hang for the former's crimes.
That a little later you said to Evans, "If you or your wife had come to me in the first place, I could have done it for you without any risk." No, definitely not.
10 Rillington Place spares no expense at detailing not only Christie's methodology and obsessions, but also the cosmic injustice of Evans' trial and execution. Trust us when we say you'll likely be shaking your fist in anger at the screen if you watch this one.
It's the moral question that concerns me.
I wouldn't tell a soul, Mr. Christie, honestly.
The taking of life, no matter how rudimentary.
Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from Watch Mojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.